They insisted my new coastal home be big enough for my golden brother's family, but my secret cottage purchase made them shout, "How the hell are we supposed to fit in a one-bedroom?" You know how people say you're lucky to have family? I used to nod and smile when folks said that. But deep down, it always felt like a lie, at least in my case. My name's Caleb. I'm 35 years old, and I run a boat repair shop on the coast of Washington. It's not glamorous, but it's honest work, and it's mine. I live in a small apartment above the shop, not far from the docks where I spend most of my days fixing busted engines and scraping barnacles off hulls. It's quiet, predictable, which is exactly how I like it. My younger brother Derek, he's 32, and from the time we were kids, he's been the star of the show. The golden boy. He's charming in that reckless, cocky way that people mistake for charisma. The kind of guy who smiles through a lie and somehow makes you feel bad for doubting him. Growing up, I was the one who followed rules, did chores without being asked, and brought home decent grades. But none of that ever seemed to matter. If I got a B+, I'd hear, "That's solid, Caleb, but look how passionate Derek is about his sketchbook." If Derek got a C in art, it was framed and hung up like it belonged in the Smithsonian. That was the theme of our whole childhood. I built a treehouse from scratch in our backyard when I was 11. Used a hammer, a ladder, and some leftover lumber Dad left in the garage. Didn't get a single thank you for it. But when Derek climbed up there and declared it his pirate ship, Mom gushed like he'd invented architecture. Anytime I tried to call out the favoritism, they had an excuse. "Derek just needs more encouragement," Mom would say. "You're the independent one," Dad added. "You don't need as much help." Like being capable was some kind of penalty. I remember one summer during college. I'd come back home between semesters, trying to save up money by working part-time and staying in my old bedroom. My parents charged me rent. Said it was about responsibility. Derek? He got a full ride to some artsy out-of-state school that cost more than our mortgage. No job, no rent. Just a credit card for emergencies and a new laptop for his creative process. They said it wasn't favoritism. They called it support. He's still figuring himself out, they insisted. We're just helping him thrive. But nobody offered to help me thrive. I was the fallback plan, the one expected to figure it out alone, and then step in when Derek's thriving didn't work out. I can't tell you how many birthdays or graduations I had that got buried under Derek's latest drama. He totaled his car the day I graduated college. Guess who got the attention that day? And when I landed my first full-time job at a marine supply store, they didn't even ask how it was going. Meanwhile, when Derek got a job painting murals at a bowling alley, they drove 2 towns over just to see it. That stuff sticks with you. You pretend it doesn't matter. You tell yourself to be the bigger person, to let it go. But after a couple decades of being invisible, it hardens something in you. Turns love into obligation. Turns patience into bitterness. And the worst part? They still don't see it. They still talk about how lucky they are to have 2 sons so different, but equally valuable. They say I'm the strong one, that I never needed much. As if not needing help justifies never giving any. As if quiet competence means you don't deserve praise or care or basic acknowledgement. So yeah, Derek's the golden brother. Always has been. And I'm the one in the background, holding everything together. At least, I used to be. After college, I stopped going home much. It wasn't a dramatic decision. No big fight, no yelling match. Just a quiet understanding that there was nothing for me there anymore. I packed up my beat-up truck and drove west, out to the coast, where the sea felt honest and the people didn't care who your brother was or how responsible your parents thought you were. I rented a tiny shed behind an old marina, just big enough for a cot and a cooler. That was about 12 years ago. The first year, I worked at a local shop repairing outboard motors. Second year, I started taking side gigs, boat painting, deck patching, anything that paid. By the third year, I had enough saved up to lease a crumbling workshop with a rusted metal sign that just said, Caleb's Marine. It wasn't glamorous. I bought my tools secondhand off a guy who used to fix jet skis until he blew out his back. Most nights, I skipped dinner to pay for supplies. Some days I'd sleep on a pile of boat cushions in the corner of the shop because I couldn't afford rent and a workspace. People called me stubborn. I called it surviving. I built that place bolt by bolt. Learned how to stretch a gallon of epoxy to last 2 weeks. Learned which fishing captains paid on time and which ones made excuses. I didn't have a single day off for nearly 4 years. But slowly, word got around. That quiet guy near the inlet? He doesn't talk much, but he won't rip you off. And he fixes it right the first time. Meanwhile, Derek was still floating. He bounced from one project to the next, a t-shirt business that lasted 2 months, a stint as a barista that ended after he got caught skimming tips, a half-hearted podcast that he swore would blow up any day. Mom and Dad bailed him out every time. Car insurance, security deposits, even a down payment when he and his wife Mara decided to settle down. Settle down for Derek. meant moving into a rent-free guest house behind my parents' place while he found his footing. He never found it. But he did manage to have 3 kids in 5 years. And somehow, every diaper, every stroller, every daycare bill magically found its way to my parents' bank account. I stayed quiet. I didn't ask for anything. Never complained. But every family event, birthdays, Thanksgivings, whatever, they still made me feel like a visitor. They'd ask Derek about his woodworking hobby, like he was Da Vinci, even though the only thing he'd ever built was a lopsided birdhouse. I once mentioned repainting the interior of a yacht for a client in Seattle, and my mom barely looked up from her wine. "That's nice, sweetie," she said, then turned to Derek. "Tell us more about that cool table you're working on." Cool table? It was a half-finished slab of plywood propped up on milk crates. And the worst part? They weren't trying to be cruel. They just didn't see me. Like I was some supporting character in Derek's movie. A resource. An extra. So I stopped sharing. I kept my head down and worked. I bought out the marina lot next to my shop. Upgraded the equipment. Hired a guy part-time. I even started saving to buy a little place of my own, someplace with a view of the water and space for a boat slip. But I didn't tell my parents. Not about the business doing well. Not about the extra lot. Not about the savings account I'd built up like a fortress over the last decade. Because I knew exactly what they'd do if they found out. They'd ask how much room the place had. Ask if Derek could use part of the space for his side business. Ask if I had a second bedroom for the kids. It wouldn't be congratulations. It would be logistics. It would be, now that you're doing well, maybe you can help your brother get on his feet. I wasn't going to be their safety net anymore. I didn't work this hard to become someone else's plan B. So yeah, I succeeded. Quietly. Relentlessly. Alone. And that's how I liked it. I started looking for a new place in early spring. Something small, maybe just a 1-bedroom, but close to the bay with room for a dock and a workshop. I wanted it to be mine. No landlords. No shared walls. Just open water and the sound of gulls in the morning. I didn't tell anyone except Harley. He's my fishing buddy, been dragging crab pots with me every Saturday morning for almost 8 years. The guy doesn't talk much, which is why I trust him. We sit on the deck, drink gas station coffee, and listen to the radio. Occasionally he grunts. You hear about the ferry strike, and that's about as chatty as he gets. Perfect. "I'm thinking of buying a place," I said one morning as we hauled up a line. He raised an eyebrow. Finally. "Yeah, somewhere quiet. Just enough room for the basics." He nodded and didn't ask questions. That's why I told him. A week later, I gave him a heads up. "Just keeping it between us, okay?" He didn't even look up from the crab cage. I don't talk to people. I should have known that wasn't entirely true. It wasn't Harley who said anything. It was his wife's coworker. Some woman named Cindy who overheard Harley's wife mentioning Caleb looking for a coastal place over lunch. Cindy's sister goes to the same church as Derek's wife, Mara. And like clockwork, the news hit the family grapevine. By the time I got home that night, my phone had 8 missed calls. 2 from Mom. 1 from Dad. 5 from Mara. I didn't answer a single one. But the texts kept coming. "Mom, heard you're house hunting. So proud of you." Mara, "OMG. Derek and I were just saying how amazing it would be to live closer to the water." Dad, "Got some properties to show you. Roomy ones." Then came the links. Listings. Floor plans. A 5-bedroom colonial with ample guest space and a detached workshop perfect for Derek's carpentry. Another with a 3-car garage and a media room that Mara said would be great for the kids. A literal mansion with a private dock and a pool. I stared at the Zillow links, heart sinking with each new one. None of them were for me. They weren't listening. They never were. To them, my success was just a new opportunity. A new asset to spread across the family like peanut butter. Caleb's looking for a place instantly became Caleb's building a compound. And Derek? Oh, he played it slick. Sent me a text that said, "Heard the news. So excited for you, man. Hey, got an idea I wanted to run by you." No details. Just that fake casual opening act he always used before a pitch. I didn't reply. I kept searching quietly, using a different name for my buyer's profile. Only showed listings to Harley in person. I started driving an extra 20 minutes just to tour houses in a different county where nobody knew my name. But it didn't stop the barrage. Every couple days, another family member would casually check in. Aunt Cheryl emailed a list of vacation properties she found on a real estate blog. My cousin Kevin sent me a voice memo about great family-oriented neighborhoods with community centers and nearby schools. They weren't even pretending anymore. The message was clear. Caleb's next move was for all of them. And what crushed me most wasn't the assumption, it was how normal they made it sound. As if I owed them this. As if everything I'd earned, the sleep I lost, the meals I skipped, the work I did when nobody believed in me, was just part of some family pool to be divvied up when convenient. So I stopped answering texts. Let the calls go to voicemail. I went radio silent while they kept planning a future that didn't include me. It included my resources. And I swore to myself, As I stood in a half-painted fixer-upper by the water one Friday afternoon, I'd make damn sure that what came next would belong to me and me alone, even if it meant burning every bridge I had left. A few days after I ghosted the latest batch of suggested listings, my phone rang. I almost didn't answer, but I saw the name, Aunt Rena. Now, Rena's not like the rest of them. She's my mom's older sister, never married, lives in Spokane, owns a bakery, swears like a sailor, and cuts through crap like a scalpel. Growing up, she was the only one who ever looked me in the eye and said, "You're doing great, kid. Screw the rest." So I picked up. "Caleb," she said without even saying hello. "Are you buying a damn compound?" I laughed, the first real one I'd had in weeks. "Not a chance. Because your mother called me, nearly hyperventilating, about guest wings and in-law suites and God knows what else. Said you were planning to bring the family together." She sounded like she was about to throw a parade. I rubbed my eyes. "They're delusional." There was a pause. Then her tone shifted, lower, sharper. "They're not delusional," she said. "They're desperate." I sat up straighter. "What do you mean?" Rena sighed, the kind of sigh that carries weight. "Your parents are drowning, Caleb. I didn't want to get involved, but it's bad. Really bad." I leaned forward. "How bad are we talking?" "Second mortgage. Pension drained. Credit lines maxed." I asked your mom how much was left in the retirement account. She said, "What retirement account?" I felt my stomach drop. "All those years of helping Derek thrive," Rena continued. "Turns out it came at a cost. Private schools for the kids, loans for Derek's business ideas, a few emergency surgeries for Mara's mom, all on credit. Your folks have been juggling debt like circus clowns." I didn't say anything. I couldn't. And now that Derek's got 3 kids and no job, guess who they think is going to catch them? I didn't want to ask, but I already knew the answer. "They think it's me," I said flatly. "They're not just hoping, Caleb," Rena said. "They're planning. Your mom told me, word for word, Caleb's finally in a place where he can absorb us." That's the term she used. Absorb. Like you're some kind of sponge. I stared at the blank wall in my office. Absorb. Like I was a catch-all. A life raft. A fallback plan. "Jesus," I muttered. "Yeah," she said. "They want you to buy a house big enough for Derek's family, with enough space for them to retire in peace. They think you're going to swoop in and fix everything. Like it's your turn." I let out a slow breath, chest tight. "You always were the independent one," Rena said, her voice softer now. "That was their excuse, right? That's how they justified giving everything to Derek. But now? Now they need the one who didn't need them." I nodded, not that she could see it. "They're scared, Caleb. And when people get scared, they turn. They manipulate. They guilt. They start calling their son's success a family opportunity." I swallowed hard. "So this whole find a dream home routine." "A smokescreen," she said. "They've already picked out the fantasy. You're just supposed to write the check." For a moment, I didn't speak. My hands were clenched, nails digging into my palms. They didn't even ask. They just assumed. Assumed I'd be the one to save them, after a lifetime of being forgotten. Assumed I'd provide the foundation for Derek's 3rd or 4th reinvention. Assumed I'd carry them, because I could, because I had worked myself raw to build a life they never acknowledged. "You okay?" Rena asked. I forced myself to answer. "Yeah, I just needed to hear it." "Good," she said. "Because it's not your job to fix this, Caleb. You didn't break it. And I don't care what they say about duty or tradition or family. You've done more than enough." I let the words sit. Let them soak in. Then I said, "Thank you." "Anytime, kid," she replied. "And hey, when you find your little cabin by the sea, don't tell him where it is." I smiled, slow and grim. "Don't worry. I won't. I found it by accident. It wasn't on any of the websites, wasn't linked in any of the flashy family texts with their dream homes and oversized garages. It was just a half-forgotten listing on a corkboard in the window of a coffee shop in Bay. A tiny, beat-up one-bedroom house with a sagging roof and a warped front step. No granite countertops. No media room. No guest wing. But it had a dock. A short, rickety one that looked like it hadn't seen a boat in 10 years. The shed in the back leaned a little to one side, and the floor inside creaked with every step. But when I stood on the porch, all I could hear was the water. Just water, wind, and the distant sound of seagulls. No traffic. No yelling kids. No second mortgages. It was perfect. I made an offer the next morning. All cash. No agents. No room for family interference. I didn't tell a soul, not Harley, not my coworkers, not even the bank manager I'd known for 6 years. Just wired the money from my business account and signed the papers in a back office that smelled like dust and old paper. I had the keys within the week. That was 2 months ago. Since then, my phone has still buzzed with house suggestions. My mother sent me a final contender last Thursday, a 5-bed, 4-bath, modern rustic monstrosity with a built-in sauna. Plenty of space for Derek's tools and the kids, she wrote. I didn't respond. Instead, I drove up to my little house with a bucket of white paint and a can of WD-40. I started with the front door. It was swollen and stuck, so I shaved down the edge and oiled the hinges. Then I moved inside, patched holes, pulled up rotted carpet, tore out the yellowed blinds, and let in the light. I scrubbed the kitchen sink with steel wool and replaced the cracked tiles in the bathroom one by one. It was slow work, but it felt good. Familiar. I'd forgotten what that felt like, to work on something for me. No deadline, no expectations, no one hovering behind me asking for a favor. Just my own two hands making something better. Each night I slept on an old twin mattress on the floor, wrapped in a blanket that smelled like cedar. And each morning I'd wake to the sound of water slapping gently against the dock. I bought a used bench sander for the shed, hung up my tools in careful rows, got myself a coffee maker that didn't leak. The walls went from stained beige to clean blue-gray. The floor? Refinished by hand. Took me 3 weekends. And while I worked, the fantasies kept rolling in from my family. They kept texting as if I hadn't already made a move. As if I were still up for grabs. Like they still believed I might fold. Might cave. Might open the door to the great communal dream they were building without me. But I was already gone. Every paint stroke made it more real. Every floorboard I nailed down was a reminder. This is mine. This space. This peace. This silence. I didn't need their permission. I didn't need their validation. And I didn't need a house perfect for Derek's carpentry. I built a life by myself. Now I had a home to match. The invitation came in a text from my mother, masked in sweetness. Mom, family dinner Sunday at 5. Everyone will be there. We miss you. No mention of what it was really about. No hint of the stage they'd set. But I knew. I'd been expecting this. The buildup of hopeful messages, the parade of dream homes, the assumption-laced voicemails, it was all heading toward this moment. A dinner to seal the deal. I almost didn't go. But a part of me wanted to see it play out. I wanted to hear them say it out loud, what they thought I owed them, what they decided I was going to do. I wanted to look each of them in the face and give them the answer they never saw coming. So I showed up. Same house I grew up in. Same peeling porch swing. Same sagging gutter my dad always swore he'd fix. Inside, the dining table was set like it was Thanksgiving. Candles, cloth napkins, wine glasses, even a vase of fake flowers. My mom greeted me at the door with an almost frantic smile. My dad gave me a one-armed hug. Derek slapped me on the back like we were best friends. We were just about to start, Mara chirped from the kitchen, holding a casserole dish like a prize. Everyone settled in. Derek's kids were nowhere to be seen, at a friend's house, Mara explained with a too bright smile. The table was suspiciously adult-only. I didn't touch my food. For a while, they made small talk. Asked about the shop. Pretended to care. Then, right on cue, Derek cleared his throat and leaned forward. So, he said, all charm and confidence. We've been thinking a lot about the house situation. My mom's eyes lit up. My dad shifted in his chair. Mara smiled like she was watching a surprise proposal. We found something, Derek continued. It's up near Sequim. Quiet area, great schools, lots of space. Even has a little side garage I could turn into a workshop. I waited. It's got 5 bedrooms, Mara added. Plenty of space for the kids. And you? Of course, she looked at me. And Mom and Dad could stay in the guest wing. It's got this beautiful bay view. You'd love it. I took a sip of water and said nothing. Honestly, Caleb, Derek went on. We just thought this could be the start of something big. Like, really bring the family together, you know? Build something. He said build like he was the one swinging a hammer. My mother clasped her hands. It just makes so much sense. You've worked so hard, and you're finally in a position to create a foundation. For all of us. A legacy, my dad added, nodding like it was already decided. They looked at me, faces open, expectant, waiting for me to nod, waiting for me to play my part. I set my glass down gently. I already bought a place, I said. The room went still. You what? My mother blinked. I bought a small house, I said, calm and even. 1 bedroom. Little dock. Bit of land. Not much else. But, Mara started, you didn't say. I didn't tell anyone. I cut in, looking directly at her. Because it wasn't for anyone else. Derek let out a laugh, short, disbelieving. Wait, you're serious? I turned to him. Dead serious. But that's crazy, he said, voice rising. You've got the means, and we have a plan. No, I said. You have a plan. I have a home. My mother's mouth opened, then shut. My father's face darkened. Mara looked like someone had just canceled Christmas. You mean to tell us, my dad said slowly, that you went off and bought some rundown shack and didn't even consider your family? I did consider you, I replied. And that's exactly why I bought something too small for anyone else. Silence. Then I added, you won't be fitting into it. Because it's not for you. Derek's eyes flared. Are you kidding me right now? No, I said. For the first time in my life, I'm not. My mom looked like she might cry. We counted on you. You assumed I'd give up everything I built so Derek could start over again. You thought I'd spend my future making up for your mistakes. My dad shook his head. You're being cruel. No, I said. I'm being free. I stood up, slowly, pushed in my chair. Dinner was lovely, I said. But I've got work to do. You walk out that door, Caleb, my mother said, her voice shaking. And you break this family. I paused in the doorway. Looked back at all of them. It was already broken, I said. I'm just done pretending it wasn't. And then I walked out. I didn't slam the door. I didn't look back. But I knew. This wasn't the end. Not yet. I didn't even make it to my truck before the first text came through. Mara, you blindsided us. This isn't fair to the kids. I slid the phone back into my pocket and drove home in silence. The road ahead dark and open. No music. No radio. Just the sound of my tires on gravel and the echo of my own heartbeat. By the time I pulled into my driveway, I had 8 missed calls and 12 new messages. Derek, you're seriously doing this? After everything? Mom, I don't understand how you can be so heartless. We are your family. Dad, you embarrassed us. In our own home. You need to apologize. I didn't reply to any of them. Inside my house. I locked the door, tossed my phone on the counter, and stood in the quiet for a long time. Outside, the tide had rolled in. I could hear the gentle lapping of waves against the dock, steady and indifferent. They weren't used to hearing no from me. For years, I'd said yes to everything. Helped them. Paid for things. Showed up, fixed what I could, and stayed silent about the rest. But the moment I claimed something for myself, the whole structure they'd built, the one where I was the support beam, started to crack. And now it was falling. Around midnight, I checked my voicemail. Mom's voice, teary and tight. We never asked you to do all of this alone. But you always acted like you wanted to. You were the strong one. And now you're punishing us for it. Derek, angry and panicked. You left us hanging. The lease is up next month, and I don't have another place lined up. I was counting on that house. The kids were excited. You think this is just about you? You think we'll be okay without your help? We won't be. Dad, cold and short. You've made your choice. Don't come crying back when you realize how empty that house gets without family. I deleted them all. The next morning, the rest of the family joined in. Cousins, aunts, even people I hadn't heard from in years. Cousin Janine, your mom's a wreck. You should have handled this better. Uncle Ray, Derek made mistakes, sure, but he's your brother. We thought you were better than this. Funny how they always crawl out of the woodwork when things blow up, not when you're working weekends or skipping meals to build something from scratch, but when you finally draw a line. And yet none of them asked what I wanted. Not one person said, good for you. Not one said, I get it. It was all, how could you? How dare you? You ruined their plans. I didn't feel guilty. I felt angry. But beneath that, I felt something sharper, clarity. Because the truth wasn't just that they'd been using me. It was that they'd convinced me I owed them. That my hard work, my independence, my discipline, all of it was just fuel for their comfort. Not once had they asked how I was doing. What I needed. What I dreamed of. I'd spent my entire life being the one who could handle it. And now that I finally said I wouldn't, I was the villain. Well, so be it. Let them scream. Let them sob. Let them throw around words like ungrateful, selfish, cold. I wasn't the one who made this mess. I was just the one who stopped pretending it wasn't there. The next time Derek called, because of course he did, I answered. His voice was a wreck. We're going to be homeless. You're 32, I said quietly. You have a wife. You have 3 kids. You should have had a plan. I thought you were the plan, he said, no shame in his voice. Just fury. You've always been the one with your life together. I let that hang in the air for a moment. Exactly, I said. And now I'm finally using it to build something for myself. He started to say something else, but I hung up before he could finish. Then I turned my phone off completely. And for the first time in a long, long time, I didn't feel like the bad guy. I felt free. A week passed before Aunt Rena called again. She didn't start with small talk. Just got right to it, like she always did. They thought you'd save them, she said. But now they know you won't. I was sitting on my porch with a mug of coffee, watching the mist roll across the bay. My boat rocked gently at the dock. Seagulls wheeled overhead, and somewhere across the water, a bell buoy clanged softly. Peace had a sound, and this was it. They maxed out everything, Rena went on. Your parents can't cover the mortgage on their house anymore. Derek's 2 months behind on car payments. Mara's trying to get approved for a personal loan, but her credit's shot. I didn't say anything. Just watch the water shift and catch the light. They weren't building a life, she added. They were just gambling on you. And now that the bet didn't pay off, they're falling apart. I took a slow sip of coffee. I know. You okay? I nodded, even though she couldn't see it. Better than I've been in years. She paused. You lost a lot, Caleb. I thought about that. Yeah, I lost something. But not what they thought. Not comfort. Not family. I'd lost the illusion. The belief that one day they'd see me, appreciate me, choose me. They were never really mine to lose, I said quietly. After we hung up, I went back inside. My phone was still off. I hadn't turned it on since that call with Derek, hadn't read a single text, hadn't heard a single voicemail. I didn't need to. I already knew what they'd say. The same cycle of guilt, blame, and desperation. So I didn't open the door when Mara showed up and knocked for 10 minutes straight. Didn't reply to the envelope they slid under it, a letter from my father asking me to be the bigger man. I blocked them all. Phone, email, social media, everything. Then I got to work. I reshingled the shed roof, built new shelving for my tools, hauled driftwood from the shore and carved it down for dock bumpers. I picked up an old wooden chair from a junk shop, sanded it smooth, and painted it navy blue. Put it right on the edge of the porch. Every little fix, every nail driven, every coat of paint, it was like laying bricks around my sanity. The house wasn't perfect yet. It still smelled faintly of mildew in the hall. The fridge clunked when it ran. The baseboards in the bedroom needed to be replaced. But it was mine, and nobody was going to take it. Some nights I'd sit outside, wrapped in a flannel jacket, watching the stars over the bay. Sometimes the wind carried the sound of laughter from distant docks, people gathering, fires crackling. But I didn't feel lonely. Lonely is when you're surrounded by people who only see you as useful. Solitude is something else entirely. It's peace. And finally, I had it. No more emergency calls. No more last-minute guilt trips. No more playing the reliable brother, the dependable son, the human band-aid for everyone else's chaos. They called it selfish. I called it healing. I'd spent 35 years trying to earn a kind of love that always came with strings. Always conditional. Always transactional. But standing in my own house, watching the morning light spill across a floor I refinished with my own hands, that felt like love. Love for myself. And maybe, just maybe, that was the kind that actually mattered. Because when it came down to it, I wasn't the one who walked away from family. They walked away from me a long time ago. All I did was finally shut the door behind them,